Marcus is sitting on the floor of his own bedroom, not by choice. His wife told him he couldn't sit on the bed, said she paid for it, said it was hers. So he moved like he always did, and he sat down on the floor, quietly, without argument. And then something happened. Something that I genuinely cannot explain with a straight face. And yet I need you to understand just how serious it is. His wife walked over to where he was sitting, and she pooped on him. I know. Take a second. We'll get there. Because here's the thing, that moment, that wasn't rock bottom. That wasn't even close to the worst of it. That was Tuesday in a 20-year marriage that had been a slow-burning horror story from almost the very beginning. Marcus had been enduring physical abuse, verbal attacks, threats, and humiliation for 2 full decades. He never called the police, never told his friends, never told his family. He just took it. But here's what his wife didn't know. Marcus had been watching, documenting, waiting. And when the truth finally came out, it came out with 43 photographs, hours of audio, and nanny cam footage that left a courtroom speechless. This is the story of Marcus, a quiet man from Atlanta, Georgia, and the 20 years of secrets he kept hidden behind closed doors. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to the beginning. Marcus was the kind of guy you'd describe as low-key. An IT professional living in Atlanta, Georgia, good job, kept to himself, didn't cause problems. The kind of man who holds the elevator door and means it. He wasn't looking for drama. He wasn't the type. And then one night at a club in the city, he met Dana. She was magnetic, funny, confident in that way that pulls you across a room without saying a word. Marcus was drawn in immediately, and Dana, for her part, seemed just as interested in him. They exchanged numbers, started talking, then dating. For a while, it was everything. But there's a thing about certain people. Some of them don't show you who they really are right away. They wait. And Dana had a habit. She liked to drink. At first, it seemed like just part of her personality. A glass of wine here, a few cocktails there, nothing alarming, nothing Marcus couldn't explain away. But then one night, after a few too many drinks, Dana got angry about something small, something forgettable, and instead of letting it go, she got in Marcus's face, raised her voice, got physical. Marcus was stunned. He didn't fight back. That wasn't who he was. And afterward, Dana acted like it never happened, so Marcus did the same. That was his first mistake. Right here, before we go any further, I need you to do one thing. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what this woman does to this man over the next 20 years is something I still can't fully wrap my head around. And you are not going to want to miss a single second of this story. The pattern set in fast. Dana would drink, Dana would get mean, Dana would get physical. And Marcus, steady, quiet Marcus, would absorb it and say nothing to anyone. He told himself it wasn't that serious. He told himself she'd change. He told himself that going to the police, telling his boys, saying anything out loud would make it real. And making it real meant admitting that his girlfriend was beating him up. And for a man like Marcus, that felt impossible, so the abuse continued. And the months turned into years. The physical stuff ranged from shoves and slaps to biting, kicking, and scratching. She stabbed him with a fork during dinner once, smashed eggs over his head. On one particularly brutal night, Dana grabbed an empty wine bottle and cracked it over his skull. And while Marcus lay on the floor in pain, she kicked him in the ear. And still he said nothing. He started wearing concealer to work, covering bruises on his face so coworkers wouldn't ask questions. He got good at it, scarily good. Meanwhile, the verbal abuse was its own kind of war. Dana would scream at him for the smallest things, forgetting to take chicken out of the freezer, leaving a light on, parking in the wrong spot. She'd call him every name you can imagine and some you probably can't. She made cruel comments about his mother, who had passed away. She attacked the things that mattered most to him, deliberately, surgically. And then they started trying to have children. Marcus and Dana had to go through IVF. It was a difficult, emotional process, and instead of facing it together, Dana turned it into another weapon. She told him he was defective, that he wasn't a real man, that his inability to get her pregnant naturally was proof that he was a failure. She said it over and over, in front of people, behind closed doors, in text messages he saved on his phone. Eventually, the IVF worked. They had a daughter, then another, then a third. 3 little girls growing up in a house full of broken glass and silence. 9 years in, they got married. If Marcus thought marriage would change things, it didn't. It got worse. By this point, Dana was drinking 3 bottles of wine a day, sometimes more. And the more she drank, the more unpredictable she became. She threatened to go to the police and report Marcus as the abuser. She tried to get their daughters to tell people he was hurting them. She told him that if he ever tried to leave or speak up, no one would believe him. "You're a man," she'd tell him. "Who's going to believe you?" And the worst part, she was probably right, and Marcus knew it. I want to pause here for a second and ask you something. Drop a comment if you've ever stayed silent about something you were going through, whether it was abuse, a toxic situation, or something else you felt like no one would understand. You are not alone. And neither was Marcus. Also, where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city and state below. I want to know who's in the Daily Crime Case family. At some point, and Marcus couldn't tell you exactly when, something shifted inside him. He wasn't ready to leave, wasn't ready to speak out, but he started doing something quiet, something smart. He started documenting. After their first daughter was born, Marcus installed nanny cams in the bedroom and in the kids' playroom. Perfectly reasonable thing to do when you have a new baby in the house. No one questioned it. But Marcus had a secondary purpose, and over time, those cameras became the most important thing in that house. He started taking photos of his injuries, his arm after she bit him, his face after she slapped him, his side after she kicked him. He'd take the photo quietly, save it to a private folder, and go back to pretending everything was fine. He made audio recordings of her screaming at him, saved voicemails where she threatened him, kept text messages, 43 photographs, dozens of audio clips, and the nanny cam footage always rolling, always watching. One night, one of those cameras caught something that would later become key evidence. Dana had been drinking heavily, as usual, and the argument escalated beyond the usual pushing and shoving. She walked to the kitchen, came back, and was holding a knife. She pointed it at Marcus, threatened him with it. Marcus was huddled at the arm of the couch, nowhere to go, trying to stay calm. And the nanny cam caught every single second of it. He downloaded the footage, added it to the collection. A man who had spent years being told no one would believe him was slowly, quietly building the case that would prove them wrong. If you're not subscribed yet, this is your sign. Hit subscribe right now. Because what happens next in this story is the moment everything changes, and you need to be here for it. We're just getting to the part where Dana makes the mistake that undoes everything. 20 years. Marcus had been in this relationship for 20 years. He was 47 years old. Dana was 46. They had 3 daughters together. He had covered bruises with makeup, hidden his pain from the world, and quietly built a library of evidence while pretending everything was fine. He had survived a knife, a wine bottle to the skull, a fork to the skin. 2 decades of being called worthless by the woman who was supposed to love him. And then came the incident. The details start the same way most of their fights did. Dana had been drinking. An argument broke out. This time it was about the bed. Dana didn't want Marcus sitting on it. Said she'd paid for it with her credit card. Said it was hers. Marcus, as he always did, backed down, moved without a word, and sat down on the floor. And then Dana walked over to where he was sitting, and she pooped on him. I have to stop here for just a second, because I've covered a lot of cases, and this is a first for me. And I know you have questions. I have questions. We all have questions. How did that happen? Could he not move? Was she holding him in place? Did she just walk over and crouch down? Did she poop in her hand first? Did she wipe herself with his shirt afterward? I need answers. I cannot move forward without answers. Please, someone comment below and help me understand the logistics. But here's the thing I keep coming back to, and this is important. A 46-year-old grown woman, a mother of 3, pooped on her husband during an argument, not as some kind of accident, deliberately, as a form of dominance and humiliation, and then expected him to clean it up. That is a level of contempt for another human being that is genuinely difficult to comprehend. And Marcus, he was recording the fight when it happened. He got audio of it. The recording is jarring, it's real. It's the kind of thing that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And for Marcus, standing there in that moment, 20 years of it all crashing down at once, something finally broke. Not in a violent way, not in an explosive way, just quietly, irreversibly. What time is it where you are right now? Drop it in the comments and tell me what is going through your mind at this point in the story, because I am still processing. 20 years, and this is what finally broke the silence. Director's note. This is the emotional release the audience has been waiting for. Let it breathe. Don't rush past the friend scene. It's the human heart of the story. Dana made a lot of bad decisions over 20 years. But the worst one, the one that ultimately unraveled everything, was the day she decided to call Marcus's friend. She'd been drinking. They were in the middle of a fight. And in what she thought was a power move, Dana picked up her phone and called one of Marcus's close friends. Playing the victim, shaking voice, scared eyes. I'm scared, she told him. I think Marcus is going to hurt me. The friend came over. That's what friends do. He walked into the house expecting to de-escalate a domestic situation, maybe talk Marcus down, make sure everyone was okay. But when he got Marcus alone, away from Dana, what happened next changed everything. Marcus broke down, 20 years of holding it in. 20 years of concealer over bruises, forced smiles at work, and silence at home. 20 years of being told no one would believe him. And then in that moment, with someone who actually knew him, Marcus told the truth, all of it. He told his friend about the slaps, the biting, the fork, the wine bottle, the knife, about the things she'd said about his mother, about the IVF humiliation, about 3 daughters who had grown up watching their father disappear into himself. And then he said, I have proof. He pulled up the nanny cam footage. He showed his friend the recordings. He walked him through the collection he'd been quietly building for years. The friend watched. And when it was over, he looked at Marcus and said, essentially, "We have to go to the police." Marcus agreed, but his friend didn't wait. The moment he left that house, he went straight to the Atlanta PD and reported Dana for domestic abuse. Right here, I want you to think about something. This is why documentation matters. This is why you should never, never suffer in silence. Marcus spent 20 years believing no one would listen, and then one person did. If you know someone going through something like this, be that person for them. Share this video. You never know who needs to hear this story tonight. Police arrived at the house for a welfare check. When officers got there, Dana answered the door, drunk, unsteady on her feet, already trying to craft a narrative before they'd even stepped inside. She was arrested on the spot. Meanwhile, Marcus, for the first time in 2 decades, cooperated fully. He handed over everything. 43 photographs of his injuries, documented over years. Audio recordings of Dana screaming at him, threatening him, degrading him. And the nanny cam footage, including the night with the kitchen knife, time-stamped, unedited, irrefutable. Investigators reviewed the evidence. Then they questioned Dana. And Dana, to no one's surprise, tried to flip it. She told police Marcus was the real abuser, that she was the victim, that everything he'd said was a lie. 43 photographs said otherwise. The audio recording said otherwise. The nanny cam footage said otherwise. There was no version of events where Dana's story held up, not against that kind of documentation, not against that level of evidence. She had spent 20 years banking on the assumption that no one would believe a man who said his wife was hurting him. She was wrong. Dana pleaded guilty. She was sentenced to 4 years in prison. And Marcus finally left, took his time, rebuilt himself from the ground up. He's in a new relationship now, a healthy one, a quiet life in Atlanta. His daughters, his peace, his future. 20 years of damage doesn't disappear overnight. But the weight he'd been carrying alone for so long was finally fully gone. Before we go, I want to say something real for a second. Domestic abuse against men is real. It's more common than most people realize, and it is dramatically underreported, largely because of the exact fear that kept Marcus silent for 20 years. The fear of not being believed, the shame, the social stigma. Men are told in 100 different ways that they are not allowed to be victims, that they should be able to handle it, that they should have just left, that it couldn't have been that bad. Marcus's story proves how wrong all of that is. He endured physical violence, psychological torture, and one of the most humiliating acts one person can inflict on another, and he survived it. And he documented it. And when the moment came, he told the truth. That took courage. The quiet kind, the kind that doesn't look heroic from the outside, but absolutely is. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic abuse, please reach out. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. It exists for everyone, regardless of gender. If this story moved you or shocked you or made you think, please leave a comment below. Tell me what you took from this. Tell me what time it is where you are. Tell me what the weather's like tonight. And if you haven't subscribed to Daily Crime Case yet, now is the time. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Because the next case, it's already waiting. And trust me, you'll want to be here. Thank you for watching.